Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In this lesson, I'll discuss Awqaf governance. Now, governance, what is governance? Governance is defined as the policies, the procedures, systems, processes, which are concerned with ensuring the overall direction, effectiveness, the supervision, and the accountability of an organization. This lesson is based on the governance standard number GS13, which was issued by the Auditing and Accounting Organization for Islamic Financial Institutions, AWOFI. It's also, I'm going also to touch base on another document which was issued by, which is of relevance to Indonesia, which document called Core Principles for Effective Waqf Operation and Supervision, which was issued in jointly. It was a joint initiative with between the Bank Indonesia, the Central Bank of Indonesia, and Badan Waqaf Indonesia, and ERTI, the Islamic Research and Training Institute of the Islamic Development Bank, and a group of experts. And I was also part of that committee, as well as Dr. Muhammad Ubaidullah was also a member of that when that document was issued. That was issued in 2017, I believe. It outlines the principles of governance from a regulator's point of view. It also discusses the regularity aspects of Waqf supervision and how to manage a Waqf, Awqaf foundations, the structures, Awqaf Nazir qualifications, the duties and responsibilities of the Awqaf Nazir, and also the management of Awqaf institution, the assessment of their compliance with the standards, and also reporting requirements. And it also contains some regulations in respect of the cash waqf, as well as the temporary waqf. So I will discuss all these as we go along. So the outline of the of this presentation, it follows the structure of the Awqaf governance standard itself, G13, as outlined in the table of contents of that standard. The first part will be about the rationale, the objectives, and the scope of the standard. The second part covers the governance and management structure, and the third part talks about the core principles of Awqaf governance. The introduction. Now, a standard for Awqaf governance is not a manual. This, there is a misunderstanding sometimes between people about what a governance standard is. It's not a manual on how to establish a waqf. It's not also a call on people to be charitable and establish Waqf. The purpose of the governance standard is to formulate a conceptual framework for effective Waqf operation and supervision, and to be a guide to Awqaf managers and mutawallis to administer the Waqf in an efficient and transparent manner, in which, in turn, it would promote the Awqaf as well as a well-regulated sector, and then it will motivate people to donate and create a new Waqf. So the effect on establishing a Waqf and so on isn't direct, but it is really directed towards regulating or governing the existing Awqaf organizations. Now, I'll talk about Quranic principles of accountability. Islam encourages people to perform their duties and undertaking in the most perfect manner and to continually strive for improvement. Allah Almighty, in many verses in the Quran, requires people to be, clear and dedicated in what they do. One of the ayahs, it says in Surah Hud, in order to test you, which of you is best in deeds, لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. And another verse in the Quran, and you will surely be questioned about what you used to do. وَلَا تُسْأَلُنَّ عَمَّا كُنْتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ. So it is a responsibility. And these and many other verses of the Quran, there is a call to quality and perfection. Itqan. The Arabic word is itqan, for perfection in work, and there is a clear indication that good work is a religious requirement. Also, there is a hadith narrated by al-Bahaki that the Prophet, peace be upon him, ﷺ, said, indeed, God loves if one of you does a job that he should perfect it. So Islam highlights perfection, and hence the concept of quality is not a new thing to Islamic teachings. Quranic principles of accountability and governance. Good governance in the Quran is based on two essential principles: transparency and accountability. Transparency is related to the concept of ihsan, meaning frankness, truthfulness, and openness. That's transparency. Accountability is closer to taqwa, the responsibility and answerability to Allah's orders. Both transparency and accountability are interrelated concepts. Without transparency, there is no accountability, and without transparency, accountability becomes irrelevant. Transparency guarantees stakeholders the freedom of access to information concerning governance, the process of making and implementing decisions, and the results achieved therefrom. Accountability is the evaluation of the organization's performance and its acceptance of responsibility for the decisions and actions that it takes. Awqaf For Awqaf institutions, governance is a major issue. It is a major issue really facing Awqaf, despite the Awqaf sector's awesome size. Awqaf remains one of the most misunderstood areas of the Islamic financial system. People, know about Awqaf, that it is a religious thing and it's a good thing to do and so on, but it is, misunderstood as a financial system, and that's where regulations and where governance is needed. You see, the importance of the Awqaf sector is, from a financial point of view, is seen in terms of the huge assets it controls, in its social expenditure, in the number of people it employs, whether they are staff or volunteers, and in its significant contribution to the economy. Awqaf operations are in all sectors of the economy, and they are in industry, in real estate, in education, in healthcare, and social services. Awqaf is also in recreation. Yet, because of Awqaf's private and usually it has an esoteric nature, and there is lack of certainty about how it is governed and the regulations. Because of all this, the Awqaf sector appears to work in isolation from other sectors and operates at the periphery of the general economic environment. Therefore, in order to correct this image and to induct Awqaf into the mainstream of the country's legal, social, and economic system, a suite of internationally recognized standards of corporate governance must be established. And that is the reason for this standard that I'm discussing, and also for the initiative taken by Bank Indonesia and Badan Waqf Indonesia. The governance code is not a legal document or a regulatory requirement. It sets the principles and recommended practices as a guidance for an organization's good governance. Good governance has many benefits. Awqaf's Awqaf Governance Standard, GS13, mentions 4 important processes. The first, governance plays a vital role in ensuring that organizations are managed in a prudent and sound manner. Number 2, good governance practices contribute toward improving the effectiveness and efficiency of the Waqf's operation and increasing the Waqf's long-term sustainability. This is very important for Awqaf, because Awqaf is not only for one generation, it's a transgenerational benefit. Good governance helps, number 3, good governance helps in maintaining a balance between sustainability and growth while upholding the charitable motive of the Waqf. This is very important because sometimes, and in many Awqaf organizations, they do enter into business ventures in order to generate income so that they can, have cash flow for their charitable causes. And this sometimes, divert them from the social work, and therefore, the governance standard aims to keep a balance between their charitable motive and their business endeavors. Number 4, a governance standard for Waqf helps to avoid malpractices resulting from no governance or poor governance. In Awqaf, good corporate governance entails more than compliance with standards of transparency and reporting. A key issue for Awqaf is the need to maintain trust between the Waqf organization and all stakeholders, not only to keep the trust between the organizations and the donors or the Waqfs, or between the organization and the beneficiaries, but all the stakeholders who deal with Awqaf. So this, what governance, the importance of governance is because of all these things that I just mentioned. Corporate governance is a key factor in bolstering public confidence in the Awqaf sector. The implementation of good governance practices contribute in improving effectiveness, the implementation of good governance practices contribute in improving effectiveness and efficiency of Waqf operations by maximizing revenues in the short run and growth and sustainability in the long run. There are many objectives that can be achieved by applying a good corporate governance standard. Lists, Awafi, the Awafi standard GS13 lists the following main objectives. Promoting and strengthening, first of all, promoting and strengthening the core values of Waqf and their governance practices, laying down key principles and promoting an effective system of governance in line with good practices of institutional and Sharia governance. It enhances public and stakeholders' confidence in Awqaf. It promotes the development of the Awqaf sector. It promotes international harmonization in Awqaf governance, so that all across the world where there is Awqaf organizations, there is harmony in the standards, and also it enhances the role of Waqf as a potential source of investment in Islamic capital markets. These objectives fall into 3 main groups. One, to promote and strengthen the core values of the Waqf and their governance practices, to lay down key principles and concepts of Waqf governance based on the best practices in governance suitable to the specific nature of the Waqf. And number 3, to enhance the public and stakeholders' confidence in the Waqf institution. Awqaf governance standard setters. Now, contrary to what is commonly believed, Awqaf is a highly regulated sector. See, many people think that Awqaf is not a regulated sector, but the contrary is true. First of all, there is Sharia. Sharia is the first and foremost governance standard for the Waqf. Sharia tells you, how to behave and how to manage. As I said, about the Quranic principles of governance, clarity, transparency, and so on. Although there is no specific mention of the word waqf in the Holy Quran, there are many verses which deal with charitable giving. Also, a few of the Prophet's sayings are at the root of the development and extension of waqf. Nearly all of the provisions and conditions related to the waqf, the waqf, the assets, the beneficiaries, and the waqf managers are in essence, jurisprudential Sharia scholars laid out many rules on who qualifies as a waqif, who qualifies as a beneficiary, who qualifies as a nazir, and there are rules relating to the waqf assets and their preservation, management, financing, and development. Sharia also gives the Muslim judge or the Qadi a role to oversee and educate on Awqaf issues and disputes. The Waqf's conditions are also regarded as bylaws. You see, when the Waqf donates or makes a Waqf, usually has certain, usually what they call a Waqf deed or conditions of the Waqf. And the importance of this document or of the Waqf conditions is indicated by a frequently quoted saying or a rule. It says the conditions of the Waqf have the same force, the same legal force as the laws of a legislator. The Waqf deed, in fact, is regarded as an essential document that governs Awqaf or governs any Waqf. The Islamic Fiqh Academy, which is a scholarly organization, it has ruled a number of fatwas or rulings on matters relating to Awqaf. These are also form part of the standard. The Fiqh Academy also in a way is a standard setter for Awqaf. There are Waqf laws in most Muslim countries. These laws provide governance injunctions for Awqaf organization. And in non-Muslim countries, Awqaf are required to comply with laws relating to charities and the what they call not-for-profit sector. Recently, the accounting and auditing organizations, AWOFI, issued this standard 13 for Awqaf organization, and this presentation is based mostly on that standard. Now, because of Awqaf's private nature and because of the lack of certainty on how Awqaf are governed and regulated, Awqaf appears to work in isolation from other sectors. There is a reason that's always mentioned for this seclusion is perhaps the ritualistic style of management or of the Nazis. A key issue to Awqaf is the need for transparency and assurance of the way assets are managed in the interest not only of beneficiaries but of all stakeholders. Donors and Waqifs are usually generous and feel more comfortable with the organizations whose operations are governed by clear and effective standard of accountability and transparency. Also, financiers, if they are going to deal or extend financial services to Awqaf, they will be more willing to provide capital for projects of organizations that adopt the best practices of corporate governance. Based on fundamental social values, Awqaf standards should consider the legal, ethical, and human issues, and they should deal with how Awqaf organizations should act to be transparent and accountable in their program operations, in their asset and resource management, in their fundraising and financial management, and also in their non-financial performance. There are few factors that affect the setting of governance standards for Awqaf. The first factor to be considered is the voluntary nature of Awqaf. Awqaf is a voluntary sector. Nobody, there is no regulation or no rule which compels Muslims or people, to make a waqf. Awqaf is not like zakat, where a Muslim has to do it, or else, he will be infringing on Islamic, principles. Therefore, but Awqaf is voluntary. People can choose to make a waqf or not, and therefore the standard should really be such that it can encourage people and to foster the confidence in the waqf and encourage donors, and to promote ethical and proactive behavior of employees, volunteers, and also the Nazis. Another issue to be considered is the type of waqf. The governance standard may have different emphasis in respect of a charitable waqf than a family waqf or a joint waqf. The governance standard may also be different for the religious waqf whose assets are held for use, or such as mosques or madrasas or cemeteries, and Awqaf, which are really for revenue generation. So a master corporate governance standard for the waqf can be extracted from as many suitable to any type, so that they may be suitable to any type, size, structure, and also the mandate of the waqf. Another hurdle to be overcome is the moral and emotional issue. Now, it is impossible really to keep Awqaf and emotions apart. Unlike corporate governance, rules which generally dictate what should be done without necessarily engaging in conscious deliberation, Sharia provides a principle-based approach to ethics. If apathy is a corporate taboo, apathy in Awqaf is practically sinful. Many Awqaf Nazis resist regulating the sector. They consider that the no emotions allowed corporate governance standards are a bane for Awqaf as they mechanize the Nazara function and they desensitize attitude and remove the moral loading from the Nazis' conduct. That's where some resistance comes from that angle. They consider this as a bane for Awqaf. In Awqaf, moral autonomy is less about compliance and control and more about consciousness and reaction. To dehumanize Awqaf governance means that Awqaf can no longer be the engine of welfare it's meant to be. So emotions and faith are part of any standard for Awqaf. Now, unlike commercial organizations, the impact derived from Awqaf services may be intangible and difficult to measure. You see, in commercial organizations, we have clear objectives with all operations are geared towards profit and making money. This position is not so simple for Awqaf organization. Awqaf organizations regulated mainly by Sharia, by the Waqf conditions, as I said. Many Nazis consider this regulatory and compliance issues of corporate governance as costly and unnecessary administrative burden. Because they say, okay, well, Sharia is our governance and so on. So why do we need to have another layer of standards so that we can regulate? And this is really a mute point and a big argument of Nazis. Awqaf is a global sector, and many Awqaf organizations have international presence with assets and cash flows and cross-border investments. And a Waqf may fall under many different jurisdictions depending on how it is connected to that jurisdiction. But in such a globalized environment, a Waqf has a much broader exposure than it does locally or domestically. Therefore, any governance standard must consider this aspect of the global exposure of Awqaf. Governance Standard 13. Now, Awafi Governance Standard, this GS13, appears to be designed for large Awqaf organizations. However, the standard recommends that smaller Awqaf organizations can extract from it what serves their size and management structure. Awqaf organizations have many similarities to private sector corporations. In some ways, it seems like there is very little difference between Awqaf organizations and the corporate world. Why? Because assets still need to be managed, revenues need to be earned. Awqaf, they have to pay their bills and they have to make reports. They also undertake a wide range of activities such as investment, project management, fundraising, and maintenance of banking relations. The corporate sector, therefore, offers the most successful governance model to date. Therefore, some of the principles and concepts of corporate governance have been adapted from the corporate world where they are suitably applicable to Awqaf. The Waqf deed states the objectives of the Waqf and its management and succession process. The Waqf manager or the Nazir or the Wali holds the title of the property, exercises legal control, and is bound by fiduciary responsibility and moral obligation to protect and administer the Waqf for the benefit of beneficiaries. In recent years, many Muslim countries embarked on reforming the administration of Awqaf by establishing separate entities to deal and manage with Awqaf properties. The governance and management structure and operation system of these entities follow much of the same patterns of commercial companies. Awafi standard GS13 is designed so as to apply to all types of Waqf, irrespective of their legal structure. Awqaf organizations, as we know, they come in different types of legal structures. Some are incorporated as endowment trusts, some are limited or unlimited non-profit companies, or some are charitable foundations, and some are full-fledged government ministries, or they are departments within a ministry. So many jurisdictions do not consider family awqaf as charities or non-profit entities. Nevertheless, you know why? Because you see, family awqaf, the beneficiaries are members of the family, and you know and these beneficiaries may not necessarily be poor people. So that's why, you know, some jurisdictions do not consider them as charities because of this. But the standard recommends that even family waqfs should adopt this standard as far as applicable to their structure. Governance Standard 13 provides the general principles of governance. The specific governance structure for an individual waqf can be developed based on the principles advocated by this standard. GS 13, this standard, can also apply to temporary waqf that are created for a reasonably long period of time, let's say more than 5 years. Temporary waqf of shorter period are also encouraged to adopt this standard. In commercial organizations, the responsibility for implementing a company's corporate governance includes a board of directors, subcommittees of the board, the CEO, the senior managers, auditors, and compliance officers, and other senior executives. In Awqaf standard GF13, the standard mentions 5 parties. The standard calls them organs of governance. These are the terms used in this standard. These are the Waqf. The Waqf are those charged with governance, including Nazir. There is the Waqf, the Nazir, the audit committee, and other committees that may be formed by the Nazir. For instance, like the Sharia Supervisory Committee, internal audit function, and the external audit function. The standard, this GS13, gives detailed definition of each of these organs of governance. The Waqf Foundation, management structure of Waqf Foundation. Actually, a Waqf Foundation is a legal entity of an indefinite life and a distinct personality independent of its founders. While a Waqf can be managed by an individual, now a corporate structure has obvious advantages. Some smaller Awqaf, there is only one Nazir who manages that Waqf, but for larger Awqaf, there must be some sort of a corporate structure to governance, to govern that. A corporate Nazir, therefore, shall have a board of directors or trustees and an executive arm in the form of appointed management comprised of suitably qualified staff. Depending on its relative nature, size, resources, and operations, a Waqf may have a principal executive, for example, a chief executive officer, a managing director, etc., just like in a commercial company. Waqf, beneficiaries and Nazirs. Awqaf stakeholders include Waqifs, Nazirs, beneficiaries, and also non-beneficiary stakeholders such as clients, employees, they are stakeholders, volunteers are stakeholders. Each of these groups consists of individuals of diverse nationality, culture, age, education, social, and economic status. And they are of different values, they have different interests, different goals, different perceptions of acceptable performance. However, GS13 mentions the 3 principal constituents of the Waqf and the beneficiaries. They are the 3 principal constituents: the Waqif, the beneficiaries, and the Nazir. But there are others, the other stakeholders. The standard is silent on those, although it mentions them indirectly. The Waqf, GS13 does not talk about the qualities of the Waqf, but Sharia complements that. It puts certain criteria on who can be a Waqf. An individual Waqf should be an adult, sane, has unencumbered ownership and possession of the assets that will make a waqf and has the right to sell, transfer, or dispose of that asset. An owner of an asset is the one who can sell it or transfer it or dispose of it. And therefore, if a person has that power over an asset, then he has the power to donate it as a waqf. This is very important. The standard states that the waqf can also be a juristic person, such as an incorporated entity that can also be a waqf. This means that a company can create a waqf, but it is doubtful that the principles of perpetuity and inalienability will be upheld. Also, establishing waqf by a company, say if a company establishes a waqf, okay, it's not considered, as in my view, as an act of worship where the waqf seeks Allah's blessing. A company, when creates a waqf, really aims to promote its image, and it's not doing it for, as we say, for the pleasure of Allah. Maybe the directors of the companies, or if it is a private company, there could be an element of faith in it. But if we are talking about a commercial company that establishes a waqf, really the first thing they want to do is they want to make sure that they look like, good corporate citizens. The waqf, as a founder of the waqf, is the principal stakeholder in the waqf, and he has the right to document his conditions in a waqf deed. He says, I'm donating this waqf for this, that, and the other cause. He also has the right to name the beneficiaries. He can say, okay, I'm making this waqf for the orphans, I'm making this waqf for widows, or I'm making this waqf for the, for students or whatever. And he can, therefore, he can dictate exactly who the beneficiary he wants. He can also appoint and dismiss a nazir during his lifetime. He can also appoint himself as a nazir. A waqf can establish a waqf and can also declare himself as the manager of that waqf. Now, after the waqf's death, such issues are settled by the Sharia Qadi, because the waqf, will outlive the waqf and the nazir and so many, and all the stakeholders actually, and therefore the standard lists other rights of the waqf. The waqf deed shall include the following. First, the purpose and objectives of the waqf. That's what the waqf wants. Specifications of the assets that are dedicated as a waqf. He specifies, I'm making this house or this land or this particular property or asset as a waqf. And that has to be known. He cannot say, when you declare an asset as a waqf, you have really to identify this asset. You cannot say, a waqf cannot say, I'm making one of my houses a waqf, without saying which one. that is not that does not make it a waqf. Therefore, he must specify the asset. The beneficiaries he must specify the beneficiaries and their rights to share the distribution or use of the asset. See, if he's making a mosque, therefore he says, okay, this we know the beneficiaries will be those who pray. In madrasa, the beneficiaries will be the students who will learn the Quran, and so on. Or if it is, a revenue-producing waqf, he would say how that benefit is to be distributed and to whom, and in what percentages. He has also the right of appointing and defining the responsibilities and authority and remuneration of the Nazir. He can say, okay, the Nazir is entitled to that much of the revenue. The Nazir has the authority to do this and that. He can really, specify certain, responsibilities, and he can give certain authority to the Nazir, and he can deny the Nazir of some authority. He says, okay, you are not allowed to do this to the Waqf unless you seek permission from the Qadi or come back to me if he is alive, or, he puts rules on how the Nazir will exercise his responsibility. And also the mechanism of appointing an external auditor for the Waqf. This is for large Awqaf, of course. Many other conditions concerning governance, management, etc., are mentioned in the standard. Beneficiaries are an essential component in the structure of the Waqf. You see, if somebody asks the question, who is the most important organ or component of a Waqf? Of course, the Waqf is important, the beneficiary is important, the Nazir is important, and really, if one is to say who is the most, without, I would say the beneficiaries. The beneficiary is the most important, because without beneficiary or ultimate charitable purpose, the Waqf would be invalid. I mean, who are you? We are creating Waqf for the benefit of beneficiaries, and therefore the beneficiary is the one who is going to benefit from this whole structure, from the organization, and therefore it must be the kingpin. In this sense, the beneficiary is the one who gives the Waqf its meaning and its raison d'etre and its human identity. That's why the beneficiary is very, very important. Now, it is permissible for the Waqf also to be a beneficiary. As we said, he is also permissible to be a Nazir during his lifetime. He can also nominate himself as a beneficiary. And he can benefit from the Waqf he creates. Beneficiaries of a Waqf may not always be human beings. You see, because many Awqaf are established for animals. Beneficiaries may also include social programs or any purpose that is considered charitable, or what we call in Islam bir, a'mal al-bir. However, this standard concentrates, this GS13 concentrates on poor people who are actually the most common type of Awqaf beneficiaries. GS 13 states that beneficiaries of the Waqf shall be determined by the Waqf in the manner provided in the Waqf deed. The Nazir of the Waqf may also define the beneficiaries if not defined in the Waqf deed. If the Waqf deed is silent, then the Nazir may really define who can be a beneficiary of the Waqf, or if the original beneficiaries are no longer alive or available or cease to qualify. I'll mention one of the Awqaf. There was a Waqf made for the widows who of the soldiers who died, let's say, in World War I. So there was a Waqf for that, for the benefit of those widows. All right. This Waqf continued until the last widow died, and therefore the beneficiaries of that Waqf are no longer there, but the Waqf is still there, and therefore, you know, the Nazir, then, you know, or the council of that Waqf may direct the benefit to other, perhaps other widows or as similar beneficiary as possible. GS 13 states that beneficiaries of the Waqf shall be determined by the Waqf in the manner provided in the Waqf deed. The Nazir may also define the Nazir if not defined in the Waqf deed, or if the original beneficiary is no longer alive or available or cease to qualify. Because, you see, a Waqf can be also for poor people, and therefore if one of the beneficiaries or some of the beneficiaries are no longer poor, okay, then they are excluded from the distribution. And this is the Nazir is the one who has this discretion to really rule on that. Sharia principles enable the Nazir to weigh the facts and decide what should be done in many situations in determining the eligibility of a beneficiary. This really very important because, and it's very complicated because it involves reliable background checks which are based on easily observable and verifiable indicators, including social circumstances, legitimacy, and the needs. Because, you know, beneficiaries, if they are used to receive a benefit, even though they are no longer really in need of that benefit from the Waqf, may hide some of the facts, you know, because people, you know, you don't want to lose any income that is coming. And therefore, the duty of the Nazir here is to be very careful in really getting the right evidence or the what we call verifiable indicators, whether this particular beneficiary or group of beneficiaries are still entitled. Because invariably the beneficiary will not come and tell you, oh, I'm okay now, please, you don't have to keep, you know, giving me that money every month. The privacy and dignity of the beneficiary should not be compromised while doing all this. GS 13 also suggests that beneficiaries are entitled to a copy of the Waqf deed. So the beneficiary must know really what he is beneficiary of. and the conditions of that waqf. So the standard recommends that, the beneficiary should be entitled to receive that. Sharia and other charged with governance. Sharia provides principle-based criteria to the appointment of the Nazir and to his duties and responsibilities. The guiding principles for the task of the Nazir are based on three premises. He should protect, respect, and manage. These principles are not independent from each other and must be maintained and reflected in the Nazir's exercise of his duties and responsibilities. A Waqf Nazir can be an individual, and this is probably the most common, especially for the smaller Waqf. It could be a juristic person or a government agency like a ministry for Awqaf. In many Muslim countries, there is a full-fledged ministry which is part of government to regulate that sector. A Waqf Nazir can be an individual, okay? And this is, as I said, the most common for the smaller one. Sharia puts certain specifications who can be a Nazir. A Nazir has to be an adult, rational, sane, capable of managing the Waqf. He should not be a declared bankrupt himself. And above all, he should be a non-conflicted person. He should not have conflict of interest vis-a-vis the Waqf. And while a Waqf can be managed by an individual, GS 13 recommends the corporate structure. A corporate Nazir has a board of directors. It allows the segregation of duties, and it can distribute the responsibilities according to areas of specialization. A board of trustees overseeing the Waqf should be able to enhance the welfare of the beneficiary groups. The duties of the Nazir, actually, he has to act honestly and with integrity. He should comply with the Waqf law and other laws of the country, not only the Waqf law. He should comply with the conditions of the Waqf. He should act lawfully in the best interest of beneficiaries. He should maintain knowledge and skills relevant to the Nazir's services that he should provide. He should maintain accounting records and provide regular information for money or other property received on behalf of the Waqf and the beneficiaries. He should have in place adequate arrangements for managing conflicts of interest. He should not disclose any information relating to the beneficiaries or donors to a third party without proper permission of concerned parties unless he has a legal duty to do so. He should not say, oh, we go amongst people and say, oh, this guy is one of our beneficiaries. I give him this and that. He should not say that. He should respect the dignity of people. Of course, unless he is demanded by government to declare on what he is giving to other people. He should advise the Waqf, or if the Waqf is deceased, his heirs of the rights and report to them on this activity in administering the Waqf. He should maintain the professional indemnity insurance as may be required. He should seek legal advice or when needed. And items 24 through 39 of the standard list all the authorities and responsibilities of of the Nadr, and these are annexed to the standard. Also, now, with the surge of digital assets and so on, one would say that the Nadr should have certain skills in in the digital field, and some of the big Awqaf organizations now, they do have such people on their staff. Most Awqaf laws consider the Nazir to be an agent or wakil of the Waqf. As such, he can be prosecuted for any misdeed or unscrupulous behavior that proves to be harmful to the Waqf. As a wakil, the Nazir is entitled to a fee, not to a share of the ghalla. Ghalla means the money that comes to the Waqf, or the resources of the Waqf. He is not entitled to a share, but he is entitled to a fee. If he is entitled to a share, then that share is specified as a percentage or whatever, is dictated by the Waqf deed. But usually it is a fee that will distinguish him from a beneficiary. Okay, so the money he receives is for services and not a donation, as it is in the case of beneficiaries. The establishment of a sector-specific standard requires time to evolve, and for Awqaf, the setting of standards faces higher hurdles. Based on fundamental ethical and social values, Awqaf governance standards should consider the legal, ethical, and human issues and deal with how Awqaf organizations should act to be transparent and accountable in their program operations, in their asset and resource management, fundraising, management, and non-financial performance. Governance standard GS13 cannot be considered final. This standard, like all standards, is subject to review as new trends emerge or new forms evolve, and its applicability is tested. There are risks which are Awqaf specific. These include non-compliance with Sharia or non-compliance with Waqf conditions. There are asset risks, distribution risks. In addition, Awqaf are exposed to many of the same risks that affect the commercial companies. There are market risks, credit risk, exchange risk, etc., etc. However, unlike the corporate world where business owners and managers determine the risk policy, Awqaf Nazirs have not taken a sufficiently robust view of risk management due mainly to lack of risk awareness and training. This is a shortcoming, really, in Awqaf. That's why we see many Awqaf assets which have deteriorated, or some have also been lost or abandoned. GS13 makes it essential that a risk management policy must be developed in line with the best global practices, taking into account Awqaf's specific objectives and conditions. The Waqf Nazir and those charged with management should determine policies and processes to identify, measure, evaluate, monitor, report, control, and mitigate the risks. This standard, this GS13 standard is not a textbook on how to formulate a risk policy, but it does make a reference to risk assessment and management practices. Awqaf business ventures can be a powerful complement to other activities as they advance the Awqaf's social mission and the community's financial sustainability by creating jobs, by alleviating poverty, and they also grow the economy. Awqaf investments cannot be viewed purely as business deals. Okay. And some Awqaf projects may not be cost effective or financially rewarding, but their social impact should not be underestimated. Awqaf projects are what we call impact investments that go away beyond making money for a company or its shareholders. They focus instead on the community they serve and how it is made more vibrant by the jobs they create and the products and services they provide. The standard recommends that the investment policy should be established in line with the risk management policy in order to produce relatively stable cash flow, preserve the intrinsic value of the asset and investment, to avoid speculative or excessively risky investments, and to achieve a yield, or what the term ghalla is used in the standard, which is consistent with the acceptable level of risk. In addition, the asset allocation should consider the target market. If we have an investment, so the allocation should consider the target market and the suitable asset classes, target weights according to different target markets and asset classes, liquidity requirements for different assets of different exit strategy, which is very important, or process of disposal of investment or income derived therefrom that are no longer considered Sharia compliant, and criteria for selecting external investment managers and independent investment consultants. The standard mentions two important committees comprised of independent members, and these are the Audit Committee and the Sharia Committee. The Waqf Governance Stand 13 gives detailed terms of reference for these two committees. The Sharia audit will ensure that all transactions are Sharia compliant. A key issue to a Waqf is the need for transparency and the assurance of the way assets and resources are managed, and that the Waqf conditions are fulfilled and the expected outcomes are achieved, and that the organization is able to pursue its mission over the very, very long term. Many Awqaf organizations fail to disclose important information or produce meaningful financial reports. Their main challenge is to implement elements of corporate governance that deal with being more transparent and accountable in their program operation. GS13 outlines 4 components of the transparency policy. These are communication with the stakeholders, annual reports. The annual report should include financial results for the year and supported by notes and explanations as may be necessary. There should be regular financial reporting. There should be external audit. The appendices to GS13 are useful in providing supplementary information without cluttering the main text of the standard with details. They also assist in better understanding and application of the standard. There are 5 appendices that are annexed to this standard. First one is the board and working group members. Number 2, basis of conclusion. The standard prescribes and promotes an effective system of governance. Scope of the standard. The scope of the standard applies to all types of awqaf, including family and temporary waqf and cash waqf, and covers details in respect of the Nazir and the management of the Waqf committee. And it has also recommendations in terms of the appointment, succession planning, and remuneration of the Nazir, and principles of governance. Control and audit objectives, of course, to ensure that assets are preserved, complying with the number 2, that the Waqf is complying with the principle of Sharia. It is adhering to the regulations of the Waqf, detecting any errors, fraud, and misdeeds, assuring stakeholders that the management and investments are carried in a sound manner, and reassuring beneficiaries that their rights are safeguarded, and motivating Waqfs to donate and create new Waqf. General criteria for investing Awqaf funds. First of all, legitimacy. The investment should be in legitimate sectors. The investment should be Sharia compliant. Priority according to social needs. Regional development. It is better to invest in the locality of that Waqf so that you can develop that community. And the investment should consider the best risk-return trade-off, and there should be a balance between the interests of present and future generations, because Awqaf is not only for this generation, but also for future generations, and therefore the investment should consider that the return should be for over a very long term, and therefore they can distribute the investment into short-term, medium-term, and long-term investments, so that they can cater for all of these generations and avoid investment in hostile countries. This is all I have on this standard. I hope it's all clear. And as I said, there are also many details in the appendixes that were given. And I should also point to the core principles of Awqaf, which has been issued by the Central Bank of Indonesia and Badan Waqf Indonesia. And inshallah, this sector will be exactly as well regulated and as well supervised, and will you know, the lack of clarity amongst people will disappear, and this will happen when good standards of governance are applied in this sector. Thank you very much. That's all I have.